This is the Jomo Audio Instinct Emerald. It's a $2,999 multi-driver IEM, and it deserves your full attention. So let's check it out. What's cracking, everyone? My name is Ryan, and today I will be discussing the Jomo Audio Instinct Emerald. Before I do that, I want to be sure to send a big thank you out to Joseph Mo of Jomo Audio for sending out this IEM simply in exchange for my honest thoughts and opinions, which is all I was asked to do. Now, this IEM consists of 9 different drivers that lies in this beautiful emerald colored shell. Those drivers consist of 2 custom 10mm titanium diaphragm dynamic drivers, 6 high precision balanced armature drivers, 1 9-layer PZT ceramic piezoelectric driver, and a CNC brass ACC bass acoustic chamber within the shell. Think of it as a subwoofer casing, so to speak. Now, that shell is a high precision 3D printed shell with a precision cut faceplate design. It's a gold looking design and contrasts stunningly with the emerald green color. The driver has an SPL of 9 ohms of impedance at 1 kilohertz, but let's also discuss what you will get inside the box when you order the Instinct Emerald. First off, the Emerald will come inside a fairly big box because it is holding a fairly big Pelican case. Then inside the case, you will get the following: the Instinct Emerald, a set of mesh IEM pouches to protect the emerald in, nice touch, a stunning leather button snap case to hold the emerald with the cable in, a Jomo silicone ear tips box set consisting of a set of Jomo double flang silicone ear tips as well as the Jomo Tornador silicone ear tips. Both are large bore openings on the tips. You will also get a cleaning cloth, a felt-like green pouch to hold the cable separately, which it is the Adrenaline Mark II cable. Now, this is not the upgraded version of the Adrenaline, but still, it's a very nice cable. It's 4 strands of 21 AWG silver-plated copper wire, high precision CNC machined solid metal components with OCC silver-plated copper material for the sound performance, and it lays down nice on a table or on your lap without bunching up or causing any issues of concern whatsoever. I absolutely love the feel and the performance of the cable. It will snake roll up nice and snug with the emerald to fit like a glove in the leather case. From a comfort stance, I find these comfortable enough. They are on the chunkier side and the nozzles are a bit bigger in shape inserted in my ears. Now, for this reason, I do prefer the Tornador tips over the double flanged. The flanged are just too much, and it did cause discomfort and some fatigue. Hey everyone, quick reminder to like the videos and please consider subscribing to the channel to help me continue to grow. I'm working hard on providing more steady content, and I do also have a Patreon if you would like to further support the channel there. I'd like to take this time to thank all of my Patreon members so far and let you all get back to the video. In testing out the sound of the Emerald, I used a few different methods. First, I used everything that came in the box from the different style of tips, as well as using the supplied Adrenaline cable. But then I also switched out to use the Raphael cable that I also happen to have from Elitech Cables. The Raphael is a 25.5 AWG cable with 9 core lits and an ultra high purity gold plated copper and gold plated alloy. So I wanted to see if there would be any sonic difference noticed between the two. Lastly, I paired up the Emerald with both my Cayin RU7 and the iBasso DC Elite, 2 excellent dongle DACs that can provide differences in sound, as well as simply seeing which ones synergize better to my ears. Now, I can tell you right now that in my opinion, the RU7 was my preferred choice of source and ended up being what I used the most. The DC Elite is an excellent dongle DAC, but I found it to actually hinder the treble performance over the RU7. I had more of a natural and detailed sound impression from the RU7 with a surprisingly more engaging bass response over the DC Elite. Now, this isn't to say that DC Elite is a bad pairing, just not my choice for me with this IEM. Also, for the tips, besides just the comfort, I found myself enjoying the Tornador over the double flang tips sonically as well. The flanged presented a bit more open of a sound, but I lost out on a bit of the low-end extension that you were about to hear me tell you just how much I enjoyed. I'd categorize the overall balance of sound for the Instinct Emerald as a U-shaped type of sound. Now I could see how some may even call this V-shaped, but from my perspective, I don't find the dip of the V to be as dramatic, giving it more of a flat bass dip, such as a U-shape can be. Starting out with the low end, and man, does it dig low. I love the extension and body I get out of the bass. It has rumble, and in many ways, does remind me of a subwoofer in its housing as I reference the bass chamber of this IEM. It resonates, sustains, and has a level of bass satisfaction that I personally enjoy as preference. It's got that holy shit level of sub bass because I've literally caught myself saying that when listening to the Emerald. A song to put this extension to the test is a track called Hypnocurrency by Rez. Rez is no stranger to electronic bass heavy focused music, and this track was a definite list maker for me. The very start of this track is almost like a sine wave test of sub extension. As it pulsates low to lower, it's almost that feeling of being engulfed in bass that force feeds you to just take it and feel it. It's addicting for me, possibly too much for others. Now for mid bass, I find it to start to roll off a bit to make way for the mid-range. Smart, but it can be noticeable. A track like The Moon Represents My Heart by Zhao Peng picks up on this with how deep his voice can go. Now I find it to still extend to some depths, but it isn't quite as full as more mid-bass focused IEM or headphones may present with his vocals. Think of Barry White without as much of the Barry White, baby. As I said, it has a good full-bodied low extension that will pave the way for the mids and not muddy them up. It's a tight amount of bass while giving you that excursion feeling, some rumble in the jungle. Mid-range here, to my ears, is fairly flat overall. I feel like it starts to elevate in the upper mids enough that it isn't void and won't make vocalists lost in the mix. Now the lower mids is where I feel at times I just wish I had a bit more. I noticed this with kick drums during some rock and metal tracks. Avatar comes to mind of a band that I can really engage with when they start out with some kick drums. And it's just a bit too thin of a sound to pull me in quite as much as I would like. Now drums in general do have some pop, and snares can snap. It gives me just enough to still enjoy the genres that I love. Now for vocals, take Adele for instance. In the track Easy on Me, her voice is sweet and not up in your face. It's a soft vocal that is a chill way to listen to the song, and it's easy on my ears. Now for the track Don't Know Why by Norah Jones, I don't pick up any of that forwardness from the first word pronounced on her verses that I have picked up from more mid-forward presented earphones. Also, artists such as Dominique Fils Aim still have enough presence that I felt her vocals were not lacking at all with this IEM. Her voice has this soulful nature to it that I didn't find to be missing out with the Emerald. Now this is a good reminder that vocals are instruments as well, and some will win out over others. So if it is that type of presentation that you're after, this could fit the bill. Or the mids. As for the treble, it gets a bit interesting here. Overall, I would call this a mostly pleasant extension of the high end. I said mostly because there are moments that tend to raise my eyebrows. A track example of this is Break by Santana featuring Ally Brooke. This is really an excellent track to test out mid-range, but it did showcase something about the treble. Her voice, for one, tended to have some emphasis on her S sounds more than I picked up other times. Also the cymbals, especially towards the second half of the track, get a little shiny and shimmery, somewhat sizzly to my ears. Other vocals can have the same sense of sizzle to the S and Ts, but not so much to call this sibilant. It is a peak that can be picked up, however, and some may be more sensitive to it than even I am. Now I do get a good sense of space and layering with the Emerald, It glistens in the treble and makes string arrangements enjoyable enough not to feel like you were too closed in on the performance. Now, one performance that I love to shut the lights off and just listen to is The Prophet by Gary Moore. Now, I've talked about this track more than once if you follow my channel. It's a surgical electric guitar track that can push the limits of brightly tuned earphones. The guitar is beautifully balanced on the Emerald, but it's actually the shimmer of the cymbals that somewhat disappoint here. I do think it is worth noting that the shimmer and sizzle does taper off when using the DC Elite. However, I find the rest of the high-end to be a bit lacking behind the RU7 for the finite details I pick up. So call it a trade-off. Something else that was interesting was when I swapped to the Raphael cable, I really wasn't sure I was going to pick up any differences. It took a bit of listening to finally pinpoint what I was hearing different. It's in that word pinpoint that really describes the difference. Now, I still get some of that shimmer of the cymbals and sizzle of the S&Ts. The low end still had excellent extension and the overall balance was U-shaped. The difference was just a bit more of a grip to notes. I especially noticed this with drums popping off a bit more exact with each hit of the sticks. Guitars definitely held on to the grip of the strings. Call it just a bit more lively of an experience. Now, mind you, we are talking a very minimal percentage of difference, but a difference nonetheless. Enough that I would prefer the Raphael cable for my preferences over the Adrenaline, but not enough that I would ever call the included cable bad for this IEM. Just the opposite. It's an excellent cable. To be completely honest, I don't have near the experience with IEMs in this price range as I do with headphones. But that doesn't mean I don't pay attention to what's going on and have an understanding for different preferences people may have. So for that reason, I looked at comparing the Emerald to other IEMs in this price range. One that really stuck out to me is the Elysian Annihilator. It's a very popular IEM, and for good reason. It does have a fantastic overall representation of sound and is known for its exceedingly detailed treble response. This is where I think the two depart from one another. I would say the Emerald excels at its deep bass extension and U-shaped sound that assists enough that nothing bleeds into the mid-range, whereas the Annihilator presents less of the bass emphasis and more of the stage presence, treble, and technicalities. Once again, it will all come down to individual preferences. And the most beneficial way to know is to hear for yourself, which I understand. It's not exactly the most realistic thing to do. Now, beyond that, I would say other IEMs in this price bracket to consider would be anything with more of a mid-bass emphasis and livelier mids. Maybe a good contrast to something like the Emerald. All right, guys, I'm gonna go off script here and give you my final thoughts on the Emerald. And I gotta say, for a total package, $3,000 is a lot of money, but you get an excellent case, you get these very nice tips, you get an excellent cable, an aesthetically beautiful Emerald IEM, in my opinion. I get it, aesthetics are very preference-based. A very nice leather case to put it in, and this green pouch, not to mention the mesh. So many good things inside the box that they did right. And then you take on the fact that the sound is, in my opinion, still very good and very engaging. Maybe a little bit unnatural because of that U-shaped emphasis, but if you dig sub-bass extension like this has, as it goes deep into that sub-bass, you're probably going to like this, as long as you don't mind more of a flat mid-range response and a little bit peaky highs at times, especially if you got something to pair this up to assist with that. Man, this is a good sounding IEM. But don't take my word necessarily for it. I would love to know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, especially if you tried other things in this price range, maybe other things from Jomo Audio. Guys, I would love to know. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If so, please smash that like button and please do consider subscribing to the channel. Guys, I would like to thank each and every one of you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.